Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
All right, welcome back. Day two, week one, our first podcast of our draft of Crapshoot Dynasty went extremely well. We got it posted up today, and we're already back the very next day with our summary of week one, how it went, how the matchups went, what everybody's record is coming into now week two. We are currently kind of viewing party the Chiefs Chargers game, and it is actually kind of getting to crunch time, fourth quarter. But yeah, we want to get the week one out so that when week two ends, we can be a little bit more consistent about getting these out. So same folks as last week. We have Mike Sarah and Ryan Vladsoff with us. What's up, guys?
What's going on? It's a Mike Williams fest out there.
Yep, already giving me a hard time because I'm playing Mike Williams in multiple leagues, and he is doing what Keenan Allen couldn't do.
Ooh, that's also a dig at me, though.
Yeah. Oh, you have both.
Because I have them both.
Okay. Well, it made your decision easier.
Yes, 100%.
But yeah, not much doing in the fantasy world for me tonight besides getting railed by Mike Williams and making the mistake of playing Hardman in a league and then watching him get broken shortly into the second half. So kind of a tough fantasy day for me, but I'll try to report last week because that was a celebration for me, and I'll try to get back on that page. So before we get into that, we'll talk again about last week's, which was really yesterday's podcast. We outlined the draft. This is a league that's been going on for now our fourth year. So most of our teams, we kind of had fun talking about how many people we have left from our original draft. So seeing how the dynasty has blossomed out, our league settings beneficial to getting people out, keeping people. You don't want a league where you have the same guys every year. So yeah, so far it's going well. I think I have 4 guys from my original team. I think the max we saw was 8, which is terrific. In 4 years, you kind of hope for that kind of turnover. So that's kind of why we went over the drafts, because it's a super important part of keeping up these our teams and keeping that dynasty in play, which we're attempting to build. So
I am curious, kind of going off of that, John. I'll just ask both of you: is there someone who you currently have on your roster who, when you drafted them at the beginning, was what you thought maybe was more of a temporary pick?
Good question. V, do you have an immediate answer? Because I'm going to look on my team first to.
No. I thought actually Russell Wilson. Well, this one has thoughts. I thought Russell Wilson would be terrible by now, and I mean, week one recap, he very might well be terrible.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? The situation could have changed. My answer would be Leonard Fournette. When I drafted him, he was still in the Jags, and it was a tough situation for him. I want to say I got him in 5th or 6th round. I went running back heavy. I took Todd Gurley before him. I took many running backs who are out of the league before him, but Fournette is now a big piece of this team that shouldn't have been. That's about it.
What about you, Michael?
I think, I wasn't sure how the rookie draft was going to go that first year, and I took Deebo Samuel, and I never expected him to blow up like he did. I took him in the 2nd or 3rd round, and I just had no idea who he was. He had a cool first name, and I just knew that the Niners were excited about him. So I'm kind of shocked still that he's done so well.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah, so the draft, again, big part, but that was last week's episode. Now we're going to move into a weekly review summary of the matchups that we had. Not really ripping on anybody for the decisions they made, but just kind of calling out the close calls that, what if you played this player? We're not going to look at a guy that's buried deep on your bench that shouldn't have scored, but scored 27 points. That's not a realistic play. We're just going to talk more about the, what could have been. This week, we really only had one nail biter matchup that went into the final day, the Monday night Broncos Seahawks game. Everything else was pretty much wrapped up by Sunday night. So let's get right into that. I'm going to share my screen.
I have a note for future Mike editing this podcast. This is where you put a cool transition page, like week 1 recap.
You clearly didn't watch the edited version from today.
I was working while listening to it.
Well, for just so you know, for each round that we
did you have a cool
there's a rolling text
nice
displaying for round 1, round 2, and round 3.
Love it.
Look at that.
We'll put that stuff in later.
I will cut this out.
No, you should keep the tail end of that. It's like classic Matthew Berry Field Yates banter here.
So here are our divisions. This is the first year the divisions changed, although not much. Our divisions are something that I'm sure we'll end up keeping 2 separate divisions. I know we moved in our other league to just no divisions, and I don't know. I think we're going to probably, at least for a couple more years, stick with the divisions and just change them up each year. So you're looking at the record after week 1. We're going to summarize how we got here. Division 2 is 3-2, and Division 1 is 2-3. Because of the odd number in each division, most people play their division the first week, but one matchup could not. So without further ado, I guess we could start bottom up here with Johnny versus Corey V. We talked a lot about both of these teams in the draft segment this week. 1, because Corey had a lot of picks, and 2, because Johnny had a pretty complete team already, and just seeing where he took best available. So he's
got a lot of Broncos.
He's got a lot of Broncos, and I do think, Johnny mentioned via chat today that he just likes orange and blue teams because he went to U of I. I think it's kind of like a subconscious thing where he likes the Broncos because of his orange and blue loyalties. But one place that Johnny is not lacking is quarterback. I don't think there's a realistic way you sit Mahomes for Rodgers, but if for whatever reason Mahomes ever got injured, he does have Rodgers, which that is obviously a fluky number, but he's got 2 MVP candidates. So huge position for him. Let me drag this over. So at the quarterback position, really, Corey never stood a chance. I do like Carr, especially with Adams, but again, we're talking about Mahomes here. So
yeah, Lawrence is not ready for prime time, I guess, fantasy football stats quite yet.
I don't know. I mean, hopefully he's got the big body. Hopefully he starts rushing a little bit more for fantasy purposes, but also, he throws for a lot of yards. I think he was right around 300 yards. He throws a lot of times because the team is usually losing. He could be a play. Did he outscore Carr? No, he did not.
No.
But 275, 1 touch. Yeah,
I mean, two carries, I think is they need to improve on that. Not just from a fantasy perspective, but
yeah,
like you said, the guy can run. And you give him 2 carries.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Peterson, not a big fan of option work, which I believe is what Trevor Lawrence specialized in college.
Yeah, much more traditional. I mean, that's why he liked Carson Wentz, right?
Yeah, no option.
I got you. I think I'm going to go to the bench first and look at bench play of who.
There was anybody suspect on the bench that probably should have.
And the one that stands out for me is not just because of his point total, but is Fant for, who did he have? Who's his? Higbee. Yeah, Fant and Higbee. I might have gone Fant there. Actually, I take that back. In classic John Roberts style, that was the Thursday.
I was going to say Higbee is a Thursday night player.
Yeah,
I would've
Thursday
gone-
night and against Buffalo.
I would have gone Higbee, but Fant. There wasn't a big point discrepancy there, so it's not like it was a big
No.
deal either way. It wasn't a match loser or match winner, but I might have gone Fant there. The other one
I
is
think
Landry. I really liked Landry this year. All the reports were that he was Winston's favorite, and he delivered, albeit late in the game. I did watch that game, and he was not near that total with it going into the fourth quarter. But now let's look at the wide receivers. Who could he have sat? He's not going to sit Pittman. He's not going to sit Metcalf.
could have sat Robert Woods. I mean, he's new offense for him, and they're run first. They're
I
always going to
didn't
be run first.
understand Woods coming off an ACL week 1 starter. It should have been Corey's team knew he was the underdog here. It should have been a pick like Landry or Duvernay.
Well, I think to be fair to Corey, like when you're playing against a team like Johnny's, where they're stacked at quarterback and
you got
like solid wide receivers, like you might have to take a risk somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't think Woods is an unreasonable risk. It's just the offense for me. Like they have Henry and
Well, I didn't even know
they're going to be running.
he played 2 Titans because I forgot Hooper's on the
Hooper.
Titans now.
Yeah,
So
Hooper as
if
well.
that's the case, yeah.
Let's not forget that we don't know. You might know better than us. Couple of these guys played on Thursday.
That's true.
And so does Corey change his lineup based on the fact that he's over projection already because Gabe Davis went off? I don't know. That's a question for Corey. Maybe he can leave that in the comments. Like, did you play Robert Woods because he was a boom candidate, or?
So the trade actually plays a factor here because the trade was completed Saturday morning. Pollard was in that running back spot. So Pollard moves down to the flex and kicks Drake London out of the flex, I believe.
It was Drake. Okay.
Okay.
Sitting there before.
Which I
Which,
don't see either.
In the long run, like London had a fine game for his first.
But he's been hurt the whole preseason, which I think
Right,
is what he
right.
did.
Well, also in the long run, it wouldn't have made much of a difference.
And I know I'm here saying like, oh, Duvernay was the pick as we watch Justin Herbert writhing in pain on the field right now.
Oh boy.
It's easy to say that now when he's got 19 points, but it's week 1. How confident, how ballsy are you to actually throw in the 3rd string, 4th string wide receiver on a team that doesn't throw the ball?
Yeah, I mean, Duvernay, I think, is number 2 pretty solidly.
Yeah, I think so too. But like to V's point,
And he was in the preseason. Like they weren't really like shy about that.
mm-hmm.
I had Proch, so I mean that's just someone I picked up for free in the off season. So
yeah. So this matchup was pretty much chalk. I mean, if I had to guess the rankings coming into it, Johnny was pretty solidly ranked ahead. Some of these names were going to get those points, right? Javonte was going to get his touches. Edmonds was going to get his touches. Judy didn't surprise me. I wanted to target him in a couple different drafts, not because of Russell Wilson, but just because he's growing as a route runner, and I think he could be a top 20, top 15 wide receiver in the league this year, even with Sutton on his team.
I would hope for Judy at least, like that. If you go back up a little bit, if you compare him to Pittman, I think he needs those 13. They should be right across. Yeah, he needs those 13 targets. Like,
oh yeah,
I think 7 is way too low for him. Like, you got to get that guy the ball. Because that touchdown that he had, it was all him. Russell Wilson, he underthrew him, and Judy broke a tackle on his way to a huge touchdown. They got to just get him the ball.
Pittman had overtime, and he had 2 to 3 like garbage time drives. Like they were down 21-3 or something like that. It was with like 10 minutes left. It was just all Pittman territory, and there was no way they should have come back and tied that game up. or 20-3 was the score, but some of those targets were because of game flow, whereas
That's that's fair. Yeah.
because if you look at most of the receivers, seven targets is a pretty wow. Higbee 11.
DK getting 7.
But the elite ones are getting up to 11, 12, 13.
So I think it's pretty fair to say both these managers played it well. It was just, Johnny's got a strong team this year. Matchups wise, it all looked good for him. So Johnny 1-0, Corey 0-1. I do think Corey's got a better team than last year. He's working on it. He had the Patterson trade. He had 5 draft picks. He's going to be better off than last year. But like I said, Johnny's a solid contender this year. So let's move on to, we're going bottom up. The only close match of the week, really. This one went into Monday night, and actually, I really did think that at one point V was probably favored to win. He needed one more touchdown pass from Russell Wilson, who couldn't do it, which just pains me to see. I really do root for that guy every year with his family. And
I mean, it clearly says here right on the screen, John's favorite player.
Exactly.
And he is the icon for our YouTube page.
I saw that too, and I had to sign in as his face, and it just hurt.
Crapshoot Dynasty.
For those who aren't catching it, Russell Wilson is not my favorite. It is
insult to injury here. Austin beats me with my own Eagles quarterback too.
Yeah. Yeah, but Hurts was a strong play. I mean, Hurts should have been targeted earlier.
I mean, McCaffrey gives away 6 points here. That didn't help. Dylan and Gibson were both going to score the same. They did.
What kills you, V, is like we were talking pre-recording, is he's running back university.
Yeah.
He for some reason has hoarded all these running backs, and then he adds Cooper Kupp. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Did he even play 2 running backs in the flex? Watch, he probably didn't even play 2 running backs in the flex.
They played Henry and Lamb. Okay.
That's what kept
us
close.
I don't blame him, but
yeah,
Dallas looks like a dumpster fire.
It does now.
Where's my big? Is it really just Cooper Kupp and Devontae Parker? That's the
okay. That's the one. And honestly, V, I played Devontae in the other league because I really thought revenge game against the Dolphins.
That's what I was hoping. And the Mac Jones effect, man. I mean, you can't be a fantasy wide receiver in that offense. So.
No. So going straight to the bench, I'm actually shocked that he went with Hurts over Dak, but good play. I'm not shocked, but it was close enough where he could have chosen Dak, and he made the right
Here's
call.
some inside baseball. Austin and I have this conversation nearly every Sunday morning that we don't play each other during the season about who he should play between Dak and Hurts. So he probably won't like that I said that, but
no real.
Well, also though, do you trust Dak, who's he's a pocket passer more so than Hurts?
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, everyone is more so than Hurts, but playing against Tampa Bay, or do you trust Hurts playing against Detroit, where he's going to get those rushing yards? I saw a tweet.
And all the new toys for him to throw to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet,
Go. Score me.
I saw a tweet at halftime of the noon games where or 1 o'clock or 11 or even 10 for me, where someone was like, Hurts is the best running back in the NFL as of now. It's like, yeah, that's the guy you want as your quarterback for fantasy football.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, one thing that stuck out to me down here, V, is how did you not find Chark into your lineup? I might have played him over Parker. I didn't have
that. That was the decision I was wrestling with. I'm kind of pot committed with Hardman, and I figured without Hill, maybe he gets some points this week, first week of the season. I was big on Miles Sanders this week, just based on everything that went on with him last year. Figured he would do well. Julio, I felt confident with, especially because I didn't think Godwin was going to play. He did, but still turned out right. Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to put Shark in there, but I kept hearing about this revamped Eagles secondary, and I think my fandom kind of led me not to play Shark. And I wanted that Parker revenge game, and they cost me.
Well, here's one that's fun. It's Zach Ertz, which again, he is not your Eagle anymore, but
okay, the touchdown and a 2-point conversion in the last 5 minutes of the game. Like the guy can't walk, and he catches 2 passes for 14 yards and scores fucking 14 points.
I know. I would have played Goddard too, but it's close enough, at least in the fantasy rankings, where you
I know.
play him. And so I'm looking at this number and then 10.4 that Ertz scored, and then going back up to this, and it would have been even more heartbreaking. So yeah, really.
But if you look at I like the projections. Like you could see how favored Austin was heading into this. And I mean, my team basically did what they did. His team, scroll down. Who was is it Henry scoring only 8 points?
Well, Cup going 10 over.
Henry was very low. Yeah.
So Cup's
Elijah Moore.
We got Moore and Andrews cover for. So
CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was the big one.
Lamb and Henry were
it's kind of all across the board. So yeah, he definitely underachieved more than he's going to this season, and he got away with the win.
Hold on, I want to fact check myself. I sent a text that Buffalo defense Thursday would outscore all of my wide receivers. Did they do that? They had 17
Considering your wide receivers, you mean all of them together, or
no? Just they would be the highest scoring offensive player on my team.
Yep, 17.
Look at that. All right.
Not the highest scoring offensive, because you've got Miles Sanders at 17.5 and Dylan at 17.6.
They'd outscore your wide receivers.
Yeah, almost outscored Russell Wilson. Okay, moving on. So yes, so we got 0-1 for V and 1-0 for Austin. Moving up to Brian versus Rooney. I think adding up both scores, this is probably the highest scoring match. Or Rooney might have had the most points in a loss, something like that. So Herbert wasn't broken at this time. He hit just about his projection. Matt Ryan.
Looks like he's still not broken.
Oh, is he playing?
Chase Daniel's throwing, but he was in the game, I think, not long ago.
Okay. Chase Daniel.
I'm gonna lose my bet by 1 point, FYI.
So I will point out that yesterday I really drove home the point that Brian's team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So now you'll be able to see a little bit more like why there are no holes on this team. I know
and he had the first pick.
Puts up 160 points and his quarterback doesn't even break 20. That's fun.
And Dalvin Cook is under. So yeah, 2 guys under projection and scoring 160 points. That's pretty wild. So yeah, his big one was Saquon. Jamar Chase had the big end of the game. Kelsey. Okay, so he had some stinkers too, but Kareem Hunt had the 2 touchdowns.
Well, I think Renfro, especially with Adams there now, is going to be a kind of a really hit or miss guy.
Yeah, Corey realized that in the other league as well, that like he might not be the starter he was because of that. But let's see who he could have replaced it with. Singletary, I would have played. But again, it would have only been.
Now, I guess it didn't show in the numbers this week, but Hines, apparently Matt Ryan loves Nyheim Hines.
6 receptions.
That's the word out of Indianapolis. But
Miles Thomas, Gerald Everett. There's your guy, Mike, and then he's actually got an empty bench spot.
I think you could play Boyd in any. I know Higgins was injured, right, a little bit.
Lot of concussion in the second quarter.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that early, but you could also play Boyd, I think, at any time, just with that offense.
I don't know, man. I took Boyd on a bet in the playoffs last year, and he just didn't even get looked at. And the times he did, it was like last case scenario. And so that's just a personal thing I tend to stray away.
No, that's fine.
Here's one that Rooney's favorite player is Christian Kirk. Like, just to let you know, the reason I have Stephon Diggs is because he traded me him for the Kirk pick in the draft, in the original draft. He is all in on Kirk, and so for him to be sitting on his bench and then also bite him in the ass is amazing to me.
Who did he scroll back up?
To the
I just want to see who he played over him. Hollywood, Juju.
this
Moore.
one, I think he's a must play, but I never like him.
DJ Moore's a must play, but with a new quarterback, it's hard to tell. I started him in another league, but
Mhm.
no.
Yeah, honestly, I think Kirk is a sit there with those wide receivers, but Moore is probably the closest to me. I definitely play Smith-Schuster. I definitely play Marquise Brown.
Really?
You would play.
You definitely play Juju.
Yeah, is Juju good at football again? All of a sudden, I don't think he's.
Not that I heard.
He's not dealing with a 90-year-old Ben Roethlisberger. So
What do they say in draft day?
Well, he's dealing with an 85-year-old Juju.
I did make a comment that Rooney has wide receivers for days. Look at this: Waddle, Moore, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. You've got
He also has backup running backs for days.
Godwin is going to be a starter. Christian Kirk, Ayuk. Holy cow!
He's actually got better wide receivers than I do.
Why is Chenault on his roster?
He has since dropped him.
Okay.
It's more of an inside joke than anything because he is so talented, but just gets no respect and no looks. But him and I both were all in on Chenault. I stayed longer than Rooney did, but it's time to get off the Chenault train. Yeah.
Jacksonville likes drafting those. Oh man, what do they call them? Gadget players. Yeah.
Yeah, they had Tavon.
Who's the old quarterback from Michigan that they drafted?
Denard Robinson.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
But they also, this past year, with Chenault on their team, who, again, I was all in on, they had Laquan Treadwell, Tavon Austin, and, he still returns kicks for them, but I forget he's another just like that. And it's like, you just got too many of those, man.
Justin Herbert's playing well. By the way.
Did you see that 3rd and 1 play, though? He's got to have broken ribs. He had the first down, and he threw the ball 10 yards out of bounds.
As long as
you can see it in his face, he's hurting, but he just had an insane throw downfield.
Yeah, he could have fallen forward and slid and gotten the first down.
As long as it's not Mike Williams, we're good.
No,
it wasn't.
He passed it to Eckler 5 times. So
yes,
I think that's who's number 1, Guyton.
No,
yeah.
it's
fucking DeAndre Carter.
Yeah, it's Carter.
Where the fuck did he come from?
All right, so Brian, as anticipated, 1-0 and strong, looking strong this year. Rooney, again, probably highest points in a loss. It's got a good team, but starting the year 0-1. Moving on to.
I mean, Brian did overplay his projection, and Rooney was just under his.
Yeah.
Okay, important to note. Thank you.
Excuse my team name, Mom. I'm very sorry.
I love it. Also, the lowest points in a win. That's.
I'm just happy to be here.
Just here so you don't get fined. Yeah, why is this another one of those teams? It's like, how do you score this low? You've got so much talent on your team, but then you look at Cam Akers and what he did.
I thought I was going to get crushed.
Cam Akers. I didn't even know he played him. Wow.
He hilariously. I mean, I watched every snap of that game. Cam Akers had no negative rushes. All 3 rushes were for 0 yards.
Dude, this is where you think that like the head coach has a grudge for some stupid 3 carries for that guy.
He's
super talented.
Gave him a
their
Super
playoff
Bowl.
run.
Yeah, he was amazing last year.
It's funny because some of his 0-yard rushes he had to fight for. He'd get pinned in the backfield by 5 yards, and he'd fight to get back to the line of scrimmage because there was no blocking for him.
And McVay just says, "Oh, he's got no urgency."
Yeah, I'm with you.
What the hell does that mean, dude? He got stood up by Buffalo defense. Your offensive line has no urgency. Excuse me.
Yeah. So again, I told you yesterday I really like your team. I like Lamar Jackson. Najee Harris is, when healthy, a 3-down back, super talented. Montgomery, I don't love his position now with Herbert being so good.
Yeah, until this year, he was a must play.
Yeah, if he can only score 6 points in a game where it's only rushing 17 carries, that's a problem. But who knows?
Oh yeah, huge problem. Yeah.
Who knows? Devontae Adams, oof, dude's going to have a crazy year. I don't know who's going to break the receiving record, him or Jefferson, but one of them will this year.
Yeah.
Debo must play. Pitts is a must play, but had a really rough day. That's
Yeah,
surprising to me.
I even thought of putting Komet in there.
Scored 0, by the way.
Just because, right. I was thinking the weather in Chicago is awful, and it might be a little bit of dink and dunk. And maybe I should just put Komet in there because he could get 5, 6, 7 receptions, but they didn't.
Sure.
I mean, he didn't get anything.
Gee, I can use one of these though from Mike Williams. 2 What in the world?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, what am I doing playing 2 Chargers wide receivers? But Justin Herbert's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And they both did terrible.
A combined 10 points. You got
Yeah.
3 Chargers right here. That's pretty wild.
I do, yeah.
Mike Williams has outscored all 3 of those today.
Yeah.
So let's look at your bench.
Can I make just a little bit of a
Sure.
kudos comment to myself with the Los Angeles Rams defense play? I don't have a backup defense in this league,
So you
and
get rid of him.
I just stuck with it. And despite a huge loss, they did pretty well.
Yeah, wow. I did not realize that. If you would have asked me what the Rams defense scored, I would have been like probably -2.
Yeah,
Right.
because the second quarter of that game, there were 4 straight drives where it was turnover,
Yep.
back to back.
Wow. Yeah, nice call, because then now you get to keep them. You don't have to get rid of anybody from your
I mean, I only have to pick one up probably the next time they play a really good team. Probably when I don't know, do they play the Chiefs this year? I'll pick up someone then.
Sure they do. That's something the NFL would do. How did you manage to bench McLaurin?
I thought I'm not big on the Vegas defense, and so I just figured that Allen and Williams were both going to go off.
Okay.
Clearly, I was wrong, and I don't have much confidence in Carson Wentz as a quarterback.
You should.
I apparently should,
I don't think you should, but as a number 1 receiver, like it's guaranteed targets.
and that's fair. I mean, but at the same time, Jahan Dotson got way more points, and
Sure.
he was more involved.
I'm not looking at the point total. I'm looking at
That's fine.
he did exactly what I thought he would do. Not this, the 2 for 4.
The 4 is very disappointing, but yeah, he got a touchdown.
Yeah. Otherwise,
I mean, that was my thinking. I think McLaurin was my only weak spot, really. I thought about McKenzie as a wild card
Who was
because Wise's team does look so strong, and if he were to play
Wise?
Anderson and Henderson, maybe things would look a little bit different. But
V, are you saying something?
how do they not recover that onside kick? Who was Wise's tight end that he had to play since Kittle was hurt?
Waller?
Okay.
oh
so
yeah,
not a
Waller.
bad.
He only has 2 must plays at tight end.
I was gonna say. Okay.
Nobody else does.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think he could have done anything differently. I saw Robbie Anderson on there and thought maybe I'd play him, but now I'm looking like for who?
Yeah, no, this is just bad.
No.
Weird game.
Yeah, for him it was really bad luck. Akers and Kamara especially, and I mean Brady too.
And Brady.
So
When does Brady score under 13 points? Never.
right. So is Wise the only person that was projected to win and lost?
I think so
Yeah.
far.
Like I said, I'm happy to be here.
I like it. No, but Wise is going to be there, or unless he continues his luck from last year, which was ridiculous. Didn't he lose some 3 games by less than 3 or 4 points? Like he was the most unlucky organization I've ever seen. And so this continues it, but I like his team. I mean, I'm not playing Akers again after this week, but he has viable replacements. So we'll see. So yeah, that's the one that went the other way. I think that Mike is still going to be a plus 500 team, as is Wise. And so far, I want to say that's the only matchup where I see that happening. Brian and Rooney possibly as well. Sorry, V. Sorry, Corey, but I think I have you both under 500 at this point.
I'll be lucky if I win 5 games.
I think I'm lucky I'm super lucky I beat Wise. I don't know that I'm above 500 this year.
We'll see.
Because I have huge drop-offs at running back with Damian Williams and Montgomery.
We'll see how long Mike Williams gets to be the starter. Okay, moving on to the last matchup. This is me against Corey. Kind of a fun tidbit was, one, we played in both of our leagues, non-dynasty and dynasty. Two, he was here visiting me in Durango, Colorado at the time. So we got to watch the Thursday night game, which featured Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just having their way with his team. But a consolation prize for him is that he had Josh Allen facing me in the Yahoo League.
I love when it happens that way.
Oh, I hated it. It was so like, once we got enough points, I was like, okay, Diggs has enough points where I don't need any more here. So Allen, maybe stop throwing. So yeah, Allen for me is, I'll say, my only quarterback, but that's because my backup is Daniel Jones. It's never a question whether I'm going to play him. It's just the question of how many points he gets. Whereas Corey, I know he has a little bit more of a discrepancy each time. He's got Cousins, who, let's admit, Corey is the biggest Kirk Cousins fan of all time. But he does have Wentz on his.
Like that?
Do you like that? I think he does like that. He has Wentz on his bench, who I think he made the right call with Cousins. I don't think.
Oh no, that was a revenge game of sorts
for who?
Doug Peterson coaching.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's a realistic world where I start Wentz over Cousins, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that Cousins is probably still the play. And it wouldn't have changed things. You look at the score up here, Corey, never really stood a chance, but his projection were very similar. Taylor went off. He had Mitchell go out, and I think he had another 2 or 3 guys that scored very low points. He had Dawson Knox, who we talked about yesterday, is just so frustrating because next week I'm sure he'll have 3 touchdowns on his bench. Higgins went out with the concussion, and then Devontae Smith. Like,
that one was interesting. Like,
so surprising.
I know that Jalen Hurts has tunnel vision, and he had it last year for Devonta Smith and sometimes Dallas Goedert. But after the game, I looked at like the target distribution, and holy shit, I don't think Smith got it. Did he? Oh, he had four targets.
He had 4 targets, and he actually had a long catch that was taken back by a penalty.
It was just
bad luck.
AJ Brown had what, pushing 20 targets, and Smith gets.
But how do you not get Smith the ball in a screen, at least like 2 screens,
especially in a 38 to 35 game, right? Like, you got to assume that it happened.
Somewhere you might want to eat some clock while you're ahead.
Yeah, it was brutal, but he does have AJ Brown, so it's like you've got these 2 guys, and you hope that your 2 wide receivers end up with 25 points. His ended up with 20 together, but they were all from one person, so it's frustrating. But if you like distribute it from the same team, it's like, okay, that's about normal. He's about 5 points shy of being a normal week. But it was just weird how it happened. So that's why, Mike, you said you went Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Like, I can't do that just because I don't know. Well, 1, I don't have that on my team that I have to deal with, but 2, I don't know if I could give up the possibility of 2 separate guys being featured, right? If it's a lesser guy in my bench, I'd rather not have 2 from the same team. I usually subscribe to that even with like tight end and receiver or tight end and running back. It's like, give yourselves more chance to have a featured guy.
I think if there's one time to do it, though, it's week 1 when you don't know
who's
what's going to happen, who's going to be featured.
Sure.
I think it's pretty clear from. Well, I don't want to say it's clear from the Eagles' point of view, but maybe Hurts just has a better connection with Brown.
I agree with the tunnel vision comment as well.
Tunnel vision and selfish in the red zone.
So really the only guy I can see playing over Devontae Smith is, I liked Mostert a lot coming into this game. I thought that it would be a score like this, 20-7, and he'd get a lot of touches.
But
So-
not Miami with their like carousel of running backs.
But I thought he would come out on top. I thought they'd start Edmonds and Mostert would be the guy who like broke off for a 90-yard run. So and he just like, you look at all these points on his bench. He had a rough day. Really, he made all the right calls. Like I'd love to see his like points versus possible points. I don't think he had too much besides his quarterback. His quarterback was really the only thing. And then again, his 0-pointers, you can cover Melvin Gordon and whatever, but I think he made the right call up pretty much everywhere. And my team just went off all at the top here. Jefferson, that was fun to watch. But it was funny because Jefferson, his quarterback was throwing to him. And so only 21 points versus 34 points. Insane. Swift scored this much. He had 2 touchdowns vultured from him. Jamal Williams had 2 1-yard touchdowns. Like that game could have been a 44-pointer for him. Like he could have been, look at his amount of carries. I was joking with Rooney that Swift had so many 15-yard runs that he had to leave the game to take a rest so many times. Like he'd rush for 15 yards, but because that's so much, he'd have to sit out, and then Jamal Williams would punch it in, or Jamal Williams would get the next 3 carries. Like Swift, you need to work on your conditioning, man, because.
But at the same time, if you watch Hard Knocks, you'd know that you want someone like Jamal Williams to take those goal line carries because he's a beast.
Yeah, well, shit. Like as a team for sure, but as a fantasy coach, I'm like,
well,
yeah. The only decision that I made different is that literally minutes before the game, I took out. Let's see, it was Jacobs. I had Jacobs out. Yeah, I had Jacobs out for Mike Thomas, and then thought, oh, he could get injured, or he's going to be a decoy. And I took Mike Thomas out in both leagues. I did that in Yahoo as well. And honestly, I don't regret it. I still think it's the right move, coming away with the win still, but would have been cool to break the record for most points scored ever, which I believe is still Corey. I
I
think
was
it
going
is.
to say you would have beaten the person who did it.
Yeah, he's in the 190s, 194 maybe. And yeah, so I was at 185. That would have put me close to 200. And I could have taken it from him, but Corey still has that accolade. He still has a very good team. I mean, I like to look at these dynasty teams as if they were redraft teams and think like, okay, who is the first pick on this team? Oh, he's got Jonathan Taylor. Who is the second pick on this team? Oh, he's got AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill. So he's got 2, second round picks. And that's what tells me, are you above average team or a below average team if you have every round accounted for? And so I did that with my team, and I was like, well, I've got, Swift was a first rounder, Jefferson was a first rounder, Diggs was a late first, maybe a second. So like, I'm looking at my team in that regard of, I've got a lot of first and second rounds, and that's how I know I'm keeping up with, where I want to be. And so I look at Corey's team, and I do think he's above 500 team based on redraft standards, if that makes sense. Do you guys ever look at it like that?
Nope, never, but now I'm going to.
Yeah, take a look at your team and then compare it to your Yahoo and say, okay, where did, let's go back and look at your team. Where did so-and-so go? So like,
yeah, I guess I've never thought of it as like a draft position so much as like, is this guy the number one on the team? Like, is this the number one running back? Is this the number one wide receiver? And I only ended up with Mike Williams through a trade, and I can't remember who else I got for that trade, but he was just kind of a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason I have those 2 receivers, Allen and Williams. But yeah, I think of it as like, is this the number one guy or not?
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking. I mean, there's no right or wrong way. It's just how you value your dynasty team, how you value your picks and all that. And so
I find it interesting that only 69% of the people started AJ Dillon, but that's just me.
It's still a scary thing. I think he's right with Aaron Jones, but I think both of them kind of took a hit that like they're not picking. But yeah, that is still such a low number.
I mean, 55% of the people started Miles Sanders. That seems ridiculous, but
That is way too low.
where are you seeing this?
where am I seeing it? It's on the
Oh, here. Okay.
start percentage. Yeah.
But I'm just waiting for the Kenneth Gainwell takeover. So
You have both, don't? No, you have Mike has Gainwell.
I have Gainwell. Yeah.
You have Scott. Okay, I knew you had a hand.
They
up.
all three of them scored a touchdown, I think, right?
Yes. All four of the Eagles runners, if you count Hurts, scored a goal line touchdown.
Well, so here are our records. We have 3 1-0s in this, and Corey and Wise again, 2 teams that I highlighted as like these guys are going to be over 500. But I didn't realize that we're all in the same division. Like this is going to be crazy how this shakes out. Because I do see all.
I think I'm the odd man out in this one.
After looking at it, I do agree that you're probably, one of the low ones on this totem pole. But
Yeah,
then
and it's my running back situation. Najee's hurt. Montgomery is not in the same position as he was last year, and my backups are Gainwell, Jeff Wilson, and I can't even remember who else.
So who's your favorite up here? Who's the favorite in Division 1? You've got Johnny, who I talked about, huge. He's just got too many Broncos for my liking. Is it 4 or is it 3? It's Javonte, it's Judy. He had Denver's defense and he had Font. So he's got 4 technically, and he started all 4 against me in the playoffs last year. That's where the joke came from of like, you just have too many Broncos. So I do
because their defense too.
His team's good, but who do you see coming out of this division as the person who gets the bye?
Austin.
You agree, Mike?
Can I see Rooney's team again?
I don't. It's only because I don't remember Rooney's team.
He's all wide
Yeah.
Austin.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Austin as well. It's hard to pick against Johnny in this instance too, but too many Denver.
Austin, definitely Austin.
Yeah. Especially if Lamb can get it together.
Austin's just deep. He's got guys just in case there's injuries.
And Allen Robinson might come around.
I'm gonna be the contrarian, and I'm
In
gonna
1
go
week.
not based off of anything other than I want to be different. But I'm gonna take Johnny there. You've got Austin. Look at Division 2. Again, I do think that this is an incredibly competitive division. All those teams looked good. I'm obviously going to recuse myself from this because I'm going to pick my own team. But how do you guys feel about this division?
I will not pick my own team. I think, I hate to say it, but John, I think you got it. But Wise and Brian are right there.
I really want to say Wise on this one. I want to
Yeah.
say Wise, then
He's
John.
got such bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this team is crazy good.
I want to say Wise and John have a tiebreaker that comes down to,
Well, I've already got the points because he scored 80 week 1 and I scored 180 week 1. But who are we replacing Cam Akers with? Because everything else is flawless. Akers.
I mean, you put Eckler up there,
Put Eckler
and then maybe you put Penny or Robbie Anderson in.
Play Kittle.
Henderson. I mean, Henderson. If Akers is in the doghouse, Henderson.
Doesn't he have Kittle somewhere, or am I going crazy?
He does have Kittle.
He does, yeah.
All right. So consensus is
And he's got options.
Austin and Wise. I like that. So Austin versus Wise. We can already mark down that championship. I think that.
When are we doing our week 2 recap? Tuesday, Wednesday?
Let's aim for Tuesday. But we'll kind of play off of everybody's schedule. We will perfect this format a little bit more, get a little bit more concise on the matchups, and
Be a little bit faster.
yeah. But
You want to do like a pre-week 2 thing?
Sure. We're here.
Like we can just do us 3. Like, what changes are you looking to make for week 2?
Okay, so let's
Win. I'd like to win.
So I'm playing you, and I'm already down a whole bunch. I don't have many changes to make.
Or what changes, I guess, did you make? Because we're pretty much there.
Yeah,
Since Thursday night.
I took Michael Thomas. Remember, I said that I took him out.
Again.
I put him back in and took him out in the past week. So I'm back to where I started with Jacobs. I don't know if Thomas was a fluke. And I think that Jacobs does well. I mean, we how many touchdowns did Chiefs running backs have against Arizona last week?
Arizona defense is awful.
Yeah.
We also in particular mentioned that in the last episode.
Yeah. So you've got McLaurin in. So now, but that's because Keenan Allen is hurt, right?
Yes. I also currently have Najee out.
Oh, okay.
I think Jeff Wilson has a better chance against Seattle, who may be riding a little bit high off of their win.
Got to earn a spot.
I don't think their defense is as sound as the other night made it out to be.
Okay. And you said last week that you were thinking about Komet.
I'm not thinking about Komet this week.
Oh,
I'm gonna stick with Pitts. I think I know Knox had a bad game, but Jalen Ramsey is probably gonna be on Pitts, and I think Ramsey is not as good as advertised.
I will admit that I've considered tight end because I've got Dalton Schultz in there, who is now accepting passes from Cooper Rush. I don't have great options, but like Taysom Hill's kind of a fun wild card, and Albert O, I think, could catch a lot of passes. Do I think he's going to catch anything over 8 yards? No, but do I think he could have 10 catches for 80 yards? Definitely. So I'm still toying with that because I don't like Schultz getting passes from, whoever. Oh, I have an empty bench spot as well. I might go fill that after this. V, where are you at? Who you got this week? Corey.
Corey.
Okay, so you had a guy go tonight. Kicker, maybe? Oh, no, you had Hardman.
Just Michael Hardman.
He obviously caught another pass. He was 2 for 3 when he went out, so he did catch another pass.
Got another one.
But so you're already behind projection, but still right in it.
Yeah. Oh, look, Wentz is starting this week. That's fun.
Oh, we did talk about how
Detroit.
Yeah,
that was a possibility. And Cousins has Philly. Yeah, I think that's the right call, but we'll see how it turns out.
Although Philly looks great against the run.
Lazard.
For the most part.
Yeah. Well, they don't look great against the run because Swift and Williams scored a combined
They have the right guys in there. They look great against the run.
Yeah. I heard that before the game too. It didn't go super well for them. And he's got Melvin Gordon in, so he has a lot of changes. Who are the guys he benched in favor of that? So he benched Cousins. He benched Mitchell, who's hurt. He benched Devontae Smith, which, again, those were all the ones we kind of called out.
Yep.
You benched Parker. Who'd you get in for Parker?
TJ Shark.
Which, again, is another one we talked about. So look at this. We're on the right track here.
And then my only other consideration is I've got 2 spots for 3 guys between Goddard, Julio Jones, and Ertz, and I'll make that.
I'm sure you sat Ertz again because he's old and decrepit.
That is exactly why. But
Godwin's out.
Is he out? I thought he's still questionable.
Oh, I thought he was
Godwin's out for 4 weeks with a MCL sprain or something.
Well, I'm terrible at this. Okay.
But Julio also has a mystery knee injury now too. So.
Well, that's why I didn't even take the injury report seriously because it's
Did you see theirs? It was like fucking Belichick wrote it for them.
Exactly. I think Tom Brady's been the one writing it all along because it's transferred.
Really, really quick question, B. In what situation are you starting Goff?
A bye.
Yes, a bye week, and compared to who else was on the waiver wire, I was like, he's got so many weapons. Maybe he'll be good. I mean, he was a number 1 pick, but we'll see.
Okay. I had to know.
I almost cut him and Philly defense this week, but there was really nobody worth picking up. So,
well, let me know if you cut Philly defense.
So
'cause I need a
Houston,
backup defense.
we talked about both of these teams being competitive. Rooney started Herbert tonight. That's probably just slightly over projection. That's way under projection. So that brought them close. Is that all that played? 19, 29. Ooh, Rooney had a 2-pointer somewhere. Juju Smith-Schuster.
I'm telling you, Juju's not the same, and the offense is not geared towards 1 or 2 wide receivers.
My computer is about to die, so I'm going to sign off before I get cut off and make it weird. So y'all can finish the week 2 preview.
No, we're done. We're like
done.
basically done.
Okay.
I think this is great. I think this was another successful one. We'll keep this up. I think that we'll get better as we go, but I do want to thank you guys for coming in here and talking one more time. Hopefully we can get some other players to come in and, you know, get other opinions about other lineups, because things will change. People will get hurt. Depth will come into play. So I look forward to all of that happening. Great job with the watch party tonight. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully your fantasy teams win. And yeah, we'll see you all next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.